I never thought I'd find myself telling this story, but maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe someone else has been through something similar and needs to know they're not alone. It all started on what seemed like an ordinary evening. My husband, Daniel, had gone upstairs to get ready for bed. His younger brother, Michael, had been staying with us for a couple of weeks while he figured some things out. He had just gotten out of a messy breakup, and Daniel wanted to be there for him. I agreed. Michael was family, and family supports each other. That night, I was in the office, finishing up some work emails, when Michael knocked softly on the door. I remember looking up, smiling, and saying, "Come in." I thought maybe he wanted to talk about job applications or how he was coping. But instead of just standing in the doorway, he stepped inside, shut the door quietly behind him, and leaned against it. Something about the way he closed that door made my stomach twist. He didn't sit down right away. He just stared at me for a moment, like he was searching for the right words. Finally, he said, "I need to tell you something I've been holding in, something I can't keep to myself anymore." I froze. His tone wasn't casual. It wasn't the voice of a brother-in-law looking for advice. It was heavier, more dangerous. I tried to lighten the mood. I said, "Michael, you're scaring me." "Just spit it out." That's when he walked closer, pulled out the chair across from me, and sat down. His eyes locked onto mine, and I'll never forget the intensity in them. He said, "I can't pretend anymore. I'm in love with you." My heart dropped into my stomach. For a second, I honestly thought he was joking. I laughed nervously, waiting for him to crack a smile, but he didn't. His face was dead serious. "Michael," I whispered, my throat suddenly dry. "You can't say things like that. You're Daniel's brother. My husband's brother." But instead of backing down, he leaned in closer. "I know it's wrong," he said, "but I can't control how I feel. You're everything I've ever wanted, and watching you with him, it's killing me. I see the way you smile, the way you care for people. I should hate him for having you, but all I can think about is what it would be like if you were mine." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell him to stop, to get out of that room, but I was frozen. My mind was racing. What if Daniel came downstairs and heard this? What if he thought I encouraged it somehow? Finally, I stood up and said firmly, "Michael, this conversation ends here. You cannot do this. I love your brother, and I will never betray him." For a moment, he just stared at me, his jaw clenched. Then he whispered, "You don't understand. I can't just turn this off." That's when I realized this wasn't just a confession. It was an obsession. I managed to get him to leave the office that night, but after he walked out, I sat in that chair shaking, my heart pounding. I didn't know what to do. Should I tell Daniel immediately? Or should I keep it to myself, hoping Michael would cool down and let it go? I chose to stay quiet, and that silence became the heaviest burden I've ever carried. The next few days, Michael acted as if nothing had happened, but I could feel his eyes on me. When Daniel left the room, Michael's gaze would linger too long. When I laughed at something, I could see the way he watched me, like every sound I made was some sort of promise. It made me sick. But what made it worse was the guilt. Not because I returned his feelings, I didn't, but because I was terrified Daniel would think I did. Every time I looked at my husband, I felt like I was lying to him, like I was hiding a betrayal, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. One evening, it all came crashing down. Daniel and I were cleaning up after dinner when he suddenly asked, "Is something going on between you and Michael?" My blood ran cold. I dropped the dish I was holding and turned to him, shaking my head. "No, of course not. Why would you even think that?" Daniel sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Because he told me." I felt my knees go weak. Daniel explained that Michael had confessed to him earlier that day that he couldn't stay in the house anymore because of the feelings he had for me. I burst into tears. I told Daniel everything. How Michael had closed the office door that night, what he said, how I shut it down. I begged him to believe me. And thank God he did. He wrapped his arms around me and said, "I believe you. I know you'd never betray me." But that didn't erase the damage. Michael left our house the next morning, and Daniel hasn't spoken to him since. Their relationship is fractured, maybe forever. And as much as I know I did nothing wrong, a part of me still feels like I was caught in the middle of something I never asked for, something that left scars I can't erase. Sometimes, when the house is quiet, I replay that moment in the office. Michael shutting the door, his voice trembling as he confessed, and I wonder if I should have handled it differently. Maybe I should have told Daniel right away. Maybe I should have yelled, screamed, made it clearer that his words were unacceptable. But in the end, I did what I thought was right. I stayed faithful. I protected my marriage. And I held on to the one truth that mattered most. Temptation, no matter how close it gets, doesn't have to define you. If you're listening to this, and you've ever found yourself in a situation where someone crossed a line, I just want you to know it's not your fault. You can choose loyalty. You can choose honesty. And you can come out stronger on the other side. Because at the end of the day, love isn't just about feelings. It's about choices. And I chose my husband.